Please welcome House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer.
Thank you so much, and congratulations, Betsy, for that extraordinary talk. I want to congratulate incoming President Betsy Corn and my dear friend and outgoing President Mort Friedman for their leadership of this organization. Thank you as well to Howard Corr for his continued efforts to make the U.S.-Israel relationship strong, resilient, and enduring. Let me also extend my thanks to Jeff Snyder, another dear friend who is stepping down from the AIPAC board this month. He has been and continues to be a significant and important leader on behalf of Israel. And I also, as no surprise to those of you who have heard me speak before, I want to thank my dear, dear friend, Howard Friedman, your youngest president of AIPAC ever. He's been a close friend of mine for many years. I'm going on so you don't give too much applause to Friedman. He'll never let me down. He's been a friend of mine for many years, accompanying me on my trips to Israel and serving as a trusted advisor. Howard and I made our most recent visit to Israel in August, my 15th visit. But we didn't come alone. I'm going to repeat that. We did not come to Israel alone. 41 of my House Democratic colleagues joined us on that visit. We had looked out from the Golan Heights and stood in solemn memorial at Yad Vashem. We met with Israeli doctors producing miracles for so many, including Syrian refugees. We met with Israeli innovators developing irrigation technology to benefit people across the world and specifically in Africa. We gazed into Hezbollah-controlled villages and saw tunnels for terrorists along the Lebanese border. And we tucked our prayers for Israel's peace and safety into the crevices of the Western Wall. One of the freshman members who came with us had been anxious before her departure. She wasn't sure what to expect from her first visit. But on the last day, she tearfully told us that she understood what Israel is all about. That it is a land of complexity, a special place like America, whose diversity is reflected in its vibrant democracy, whose politics, as we have seen, are far from monolithic, where disagreements expressed through civil discourse make the country stronger, not weaker. An ally whose American supporters are liberals, conservatives, moderates, united by their faith, their passion, their commitment, and memory, lest we forget. When members of Congress visit Israel, they are reminded about what is at stake for Israel, for America, and for the Jewish people. It's unfortunate that we can't bring all 325 million of our fellow Americans to Israel to remind them of its history. One American who would like to go, apparently. Remind them of its history and help them associate the country's unique challenges, dangers, and importance to America. Because we cannot bring them all, we must bring Israel to them. That's why AIPAC is so important. AIPAC brings Americans together from across the political spectrum to understand the importance of the U.S.-Israel relationship and to strengthen it. In Congress, I am proud to be a leader in this effort to maintain and grow the broad, bipartisan consensus supporting Israel and the U.S.-Israel relationship. To be frank, however, there has been a lot of heated talk lately about Democrats and from some Democrats with regard to Israel. I've spent the last 50 years supporting the U.S.-Israel relationship. Let me make it clear. As a party, Democrats in the House stand solidly with Israel and the right of every Israeli to live in peace and security. Consensus among Democrats and Republicans in support of Israel continues to be the reality, and to suggest otherwise misstates the facts and weakens Israel. One of AIPAC's most critical missions is to make sure that everyone understands that. We cannot allow Israel's fortunes to ebb and flow with the waves of political change in any given election in either country. The relationship between America and Israel is not one of personalities, but of principles, one of shared values and mutual interests. Let us always keep that in mind. It is up to all of us to ensure that our fellow Americans in communities across our country understand that our bipartisan support for Israel in Congress is a strategic asset for Israel and also for America. It is also vital that we make sure they know the history that requires and demands support for Israel's sovereignty, survival, and success. When they forget how Democrats and Republicans have stood unequivocally against anti-Semitism, bigotry, and hate, those pernicious diseases that made the modern Jewish state so critical. When they forget, we must remind them. Unless they forget that people who march with those carrying swastikas and shouting Nazi slogans are not very fine people, we must remind them. When others forget the campaigns of terror that have targeted Israel since before and after its independence, we must remind them. If they forget how Democrats and Republicans together protected Israel with an Iron Dome and the latest in anti-tunneling technology, we must remind them. And if they forget that Democrats and Republicans in Congress stand up for Israel's right to defend itself and help maintain its qualitative military edge, we must remind them. When others forget that Democrats and Republicans have worked hard to provide Israel with crucial defensive security aid and loan guarantees, we must remind them. And we must remind them that we've done so and will continue to do so with no conditions. Because these are not just investments in Israel's security, but in America's as well. And there must never be conditions on protecting American security by maintaining the strength of our ally, Israel. When others forget that Democrats and Republicans are standing up to Iran together, we must remind them of that too. Congress is standing together to send a message to the President, to the United Nations, and critically to Tehran, that the UN arms embargo against Iran must not be allowed to lapse. And as long as I am the majority leader of the House of Representatives, I will do everything in my power to ensure that Iran never acquires a nuclear weapon. Israel's security and strength are linked to the United States being a global leader, one that is credible, one that values our alliances, and one that keeps its word. When others forget the importance of our alliances and the strength that comes from international engagement and their benefits to Israel's security, we must remind them. We remind them, too, that Democrats and Republicans are working together to oppose BDS. Both here in America and in the United Nations as well. That is because we see BDS as a discriminatory movement, one that rejects the right of the Jewish people to live in Jewish, democratic state in a land of their ancestors. Last July, as many of you know, the House passed a bipartisan resolution condemning BDS with the overwhelming support of Democrats and Republicans. Let me read you a short excerpt because the words we used are important. In that resolution, we said this: whereas, in contrast to protest movements that have sought racial justice and social change, the global BDS movement targeting Israel is not about promoting coexistence or civil rights or political reconciliation, but questioning and undermining the very legitimacy of a country and its people. America must not be fooled by BDS. And that is up to all of us. I'm told there are more than 3,600 high school and college students at Policy Conference this year. Betsy said 4,000. Welcome. Welcome. You, as Betsy said, are the front lines in this battle. And as surely as Israel relies on the extraordinary young people in the IDF, it relies on you for steadfast support and success. As successful as we are today, we must also be successful tomorrow on behalf of our ally and our strategic interest. You are here this week, students, to gain knowledge that will help you in your mission to go back and share Israel's story with your schools, your communities, your fellow students, your peers. Is there anyone here from the University of Maryland? Go Terps. My Maryland colleagues in Congress, including the late Elijah Cummings, we're proud to support you when your student government considered a resolution to divest from Israel last year. That resolution, because of your hard work, was resoundingly defeated. Thank you. No one should ever be made to feel threatened or ostracized for being pro-Israel. As I said last year, accuse me. Threatened not on campus, not in neighborhoods, not in schools, not in any meeting whatsoever, not anywhere. And when others forget that America and Israel strive for together, we must remind them. That's part of AIPAC's role. It's part of each of our roles. I give a speech, I say, about responsibility. If it is to be, it is up to me. Each of us ought to say that to ourselves. Both of our countries have struggled over time to live up to our founding ideals, and neither America nor Israel is perfect. Together, however, both strive to make our countries more perfectly reflect our values. And where other nations might stifle criticism of policies or governments, together we welcome it. That is the hallmark of our two democracies. We should never fear it, and we should never let it become personal. That is how together we continue the march toward justice, equality, and opportunity for our people and for all people. Whether we're Democrats, Republicans, or independents, together we must bear witness for Israel and explain why its security is so important, why history matters, and why bipartisanship matters. I said that we took a lot of people to Israel, 41 to be exact. And Kevin McCarthy, my counterpart as the minority leader, as the Republican leader in the House, took some 30 plus. And about 60 of us stood in a press conference in the King David Hotel in Jerusalem and spoke with one voice about our support for Israel. We can never forget. We never should allow our citizens to forget why Israel matters. It too is a land of the free and the home of the brave. If it is to be, it is up to us, and we must remind them. God bless and Godspeed. Thank you very much.